All right. It's great to be here. Really exciting stuff about the Food Cafe as well. And we worked really hard with WordCamp last year as well. So I think it's going to be a great year for WordPress community this year. Yeah, sorry. All right. My name is Marcus, and I work as a front-end developer at Happiness, where we create the Drupal websites. not WordPress. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so if you didn't know, Drupal facts. So yeah, Drupal 8 just got released, or well, it got released kind of like a half year ago, but it's really big news for the Drupal community. And it's really different from WordPress, so maybe I can do like a talk on WordPress versus Drupal one day. We'll see. But I'm still a big fan of WordPress. I work with WordPress Various website on my free time, so yeah. And right, so but I'm not here to talk about WordPress or Drupal today. I'm actually going to talk about PostCSS today. So we're going to be talking about why we created PostCSS, what PostCSS actually is, and how you can start using it. So why did we create PostCSS? Today we use a lot of CSS preprocessors. These are the three of the most commonly used. And I think they're kind of a bad habit in CSS. First off, it's a CSS templating language. So, for example, Sass is built on Ruby. It's kind of poorly built and not well designed. So you're basically converting Sass into CSS. That's it. So why do we use these? Why do we use Sass? So, well, basically they have syntaxes that aren't available in CSS yet. For example, you can do variables. It's actually going to be a legit thing to do in CSS4, but we're still not there yet. And then you can use nestling. A bad habit, but it's there. And then you can use mixins and extends to repeat code. And, you know, built-in functions within Sass and stuff. So it's actually very difficult to maintain when you use Sass or less or stylus, because even though it's only like 4 syntaxes, people are overdoing it. Because I've been reviewing a lot of CSS code bases and improved them. And one mistake is that you're overdoing it. You're not looking at the output. You're only looking at your Sass or your less or your stylus. It's not very good. So we needed a solution, so we created PostCSS. So what is PostCSS? PostCSS is basically just a tool for transforming styles with JavaScript. So it's built on JavaScript, which is super nice. I'm gonna come to that part later, why that's nice. First off, how many in here have ever heard of autoprefixer? Or like, yeah, great, some of you. It's more of a developer talk. Yeah, so autoprefix is a great example of what could not be done in Sass or less or stylus. It's actually like a pre-process function and not a post-process. I mean the opposite, sorry. So yeah, this is how the PostCSS core works. You basically have your CSS file that goes into the PostCSS parser. It creates an abstract syntax tree. It looks something like this. Bunch of JSON objects. And what you can do with this is manipulate it with JavaScript plugins. It's kind of like, you can think of it as like WordPress plugins in CSS. And then you stringify that back into a valid CSS file. So what are these PostCSS plugins? What can they do? So this is a PostCSS plugin called PostCSS Focus. It will basically add the focus attribute whenever you state hover, which is really nice for accessibility, something that a lot of developers seems to forget when it comes to accessibility. Another PostCSS plugin is called PostCSS CSS Next. It lets you write CSS4 syntax and it converts it into CSS3. Do I use? Checks browser support of properties, which is kind of nice. Flexbox, if you start using Flex, it adds the browser support for that. And PostCSS Initial kind of resets a selector. And you know, there are more than 200 plugins today. So going from like 4 syntaxes to 200 PostCSS plugins is kind of cool. So a lot of people ask me like, how do I make my own plugin? Is it hard? Do I need to know JavaScript? So I wrote a blog post on CSStricks.com together with Chris Coyer on how you can make your own one. And it's actually very simple. Like, I wrote a plugin the other day, super stupid plugin. It would translate color illube to color blue. So, but basically this is how much code you need to get this plugin working. So you're basically hooking it up to the PostCSS API, and with a one-liner you can get this working. So it's fairly simple. So how do you start using PostCSS? You can include it in your build tool, Webpack, Gulp, whatever, and then you specify the order of the plugins. And the nice thing about PostCSS, it still works with Sass less and styleless. You know, you can still process your Sass and then use auto prefixer as an example. That's a lot of people, they tell me like, oh, I want to use that in Sass, I want to use that in less and styleless. And PostCSS does that all together, which is nice. So yeah, PostCSS is incredibly fast because it's built in JavaScript. One of the big reasons. And yeah, everyone is using PostCSS. Big companies. The other month, Facebook reached out and told us that they improved their CSS codebase with PostCSS. It's kind of cool. So yeah, so I think just take 10 minutes to explore PostCSS. See if you like it. It is fairly easy to set up and easy to get going. So that's it for me, a lightning talk. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, maybe?